Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Surabhyay Namaha.
Om Surabhyay Namaha.
Om Surabhyay Namaha.
Om Surabhyay Namaha.
Om Surabhyay Namaha. Mukham karoti vasaram pangum langayate girim Yat kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yat kripat maham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. We are beginning a new chapter today. This is, of course, the continuation of Canto number 4. Part 2. We just have been reading for the last so many weeks from chapter 19, and now we are beginning chapter 20. The title of this chapter is Lord Vishnu's Appearance in the Sacrificial Arena of Maharaj Prithu. We had read how Lord Brahma had appeared. Now Lord Vishnu is appearing. So this is the continuation or the continued narration between Maitreya Rishi and Vidura. Maitreya is narrating this whole pastime. We will read, let's see, text number 2, since text number 1 doesn't have any purport. Yes.
2 also doesn't have purport. 2 also doesn't have purport.
2 has a purport. In my version. You don't have a purport?
Very small.
Well, it's a purport. Yes, a small purport. Doesn't matter. It's okay. So text number 2. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Esha Te Karshid Bhangam Haya Medha Shatasya Ha Kshemapayata Atmanam Amushya Shantum Adhasi Sri Bhagavan Vacha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, spoke. Eshaha. This Lord Indra. Te. Your. Akarshit,
Akarshit,
performed.
performed.
Bhangam,
Bhangam,
disturbance.
disturbance.
Haya,
Haya,
horse.
horse.
Metha,
Meda,
sacrifice.
sacrifice.
Shatasya,
Tasya,
of the 100th, of the 100th.
of the 100.
Ha,
Ha,
indeed.
indeed.
Kshemapayataha,
Shamapayataha,
who is asking pardon.
who is asking pardon.
Atmanam,
Atmanam,
unto yourself.
unto yourself.
Amushya,
Amushya,
him.
him.
Kshantum,
Shantum,
to forgive.
to forgive.
Arhasi,
Arhasi,
you ought.
you ought.
Before reading the translation to text 2, we will read text 1. Maitreya uvacha bhagavan api vaikuntha shakam maghavata vibhuhu jagnaya jagya patis tusto jagya bhuk tam abhasata. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, being very much satisfied by the performance of 99 horse sacrifices, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, appeared on the scene. Accompanying him was King Indra. Lord Vishnu then began to speak. Translation to text number 2 and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, said, my dear King Prithu, Indra, the King of Heaven, has disturbed your execution of 100 sacrifices. Now he has come with me to be forgiven by you. Therefore, excuse him. Purport. In this verse, the word Atmanam is very significant. It is a custom among yogis and jnanis to address one another, or even an ordinary man, as one's self. For a transcendentalist never accepts a living being to be the body. Since the individual self is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the self and the super-self are qualitatively non-different. As the verse will explain, as the next verse will explain, the body is only a superficial covering, and consequently an advanced transcendentalist will not make a distinction between oneself and another. So we will read text number 3 as well. Sudhiya sadavo loke naradeva narotamaha nabhi dhruhyanti bhutebhyo yadhi natma kalevaram. Translation and purport. O King, one who is advanced in intelligence and eager to perform activities for others is considered best amongst human beings. An advanced human being is never malicious to others. Those with advanced intelligence are always conscious that this material body is different from the soul. Can you repeat after me? O King,
O King,
one who is advanced in intelligence
one who is advanced in intelligence,
and eager to perform welfare activities
and eager to perform welfare
for others,
for others,
is considered best among human beings.
is considered best among human beings.
An advanced human being
An advanced human being
is never malicious to others.
is never malicious to others.
Those with advanced intelligence
Those with advanced intelligence
are always conscious
are always conscious
that this material body
that this material body
is different from the soul.
is different from the soul.
Purport. In daily life, we find that when a madman commits murder, he is excused even by a high court judge. The idea is that a living entity is always pure because he is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When he falls into the clutches of material energy, he becomes a victim of the three modes of material nature. Indeed, whatever he does under the influence of material nature. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 5:14, Nakar tritvam nakarmani lokasya srijati prabhu nakarma phala samyogam sabhavastu pravartate. Translation: the embodied spirit, master of the city of his body, does not create activities, nor does he induce people to act, nor does he create the fruits of action. All this is enacted by the modes of material nature. Actually, the living entity or soul does not do anything. Everything is done under the influence of the modes of material nature. When a man is diseased, the symptoms of the disease become a source of all kinds of pain. Those who are advanced in transcendental consciousness or Krishna consciousness are never envious, neither of the soul nor of the activities of the soul under the influence of material nature. Advanced transcendentalists are called Suddhiyaha. Suddhi means intelligence. Suddhi means highly advanced. And Suddhi means devotee. One who is both devoted and highly advanced in intelligence does not take action against the soul or the body. If there is any discrepancy, he forgives. It is said that forgiveness is a quality of those who are advancing in spiritual knowledge. Translation again. O King, one who is advanced in intelligence and eager to perform welfare activities for others, is considered best amongst human beings. An advanced human being is never malicious to others. Those with advanced intelligence are always conscious that this material body is different from the soul. So in the Bhagavad Gita we find one of the qualities of the Lord, Suridam Sarvabhutanam. This same quality is actually there in devotees. Titikshara Karunika Suridam Sarvadehinam. These are the natural qualities of a devotee, of a Vaishnava, of an enlightened personality. He is always conscious. He has that vision, Pandita Samadarshinaha. He's constantly aware and conscious of the presence of the living entity in all different forms of life. And therefore, one of the foremost qualities of such an individual is that he's always extremely cautious not to cause harm or pain or bring about any kind of disturbance to other living entities. And also, even if someone does something wrong, and this is what is being highlighted here, and I'm sure it will be elaborated upon in the verses to come. Even if some wrong is done to him, he is always ready to forgive. So this is the verse, or the verses before are explaining how the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself appeared in this sacrificial arena. I mean, a very unusual incident, obviously. And He appeared with Lord Indra, who actually committed this offense. And now, of course, now we are answering Ram Lakshman Prabhu's question. Hey, what about Lord Indra? So we had to wait for this chapter to begin. So because Lord Indra he's actually very dear to Krishna, because he has a very big post, big managerial position. But because he's not a pure devotee, sometimes he makes mistakes. And because he's such a big personality, and also because the Lord became very attracted to the activities, the yagyas performed by Prithu Maharaj, so he took it upon himself to personally appear in this sacrificial arena. So this point that Srila Prabhupada is explaining, quoting from Bhagavad Gita, how actually all of us, anyone who is not Krishna conscious, is at some level or other a madman. Welcome to the material world. Prabhupada gives a story of one person who had committed a very serious offense and was going to be tried in the courts. Somehow he had a good lawyer. So it was a fact that he had committed this offense. And the judge, before actually giving the sentence, wanted this person examined by a, I guess, psychiatrist. And after examining that person, then the judge asked, and so what is his condition? And of course, the psychiatrist mentioned that actually everyone who is in this material world, to some degree or other, is a madman. So Prabhupada is pointing out here that actually when a person, I mean a really mad person, commits some offense, then he's excused because he was not conscious. So in a similar way, all of us who are under the influence of the modes of material nature, we're forced to act. This was a whole conversation between Arjuna and Krishna. One is forced to act under the influence of the modes of material nature, for which obviously we have to suffer in so many different ways. Fortunately, there is a way, there's a process by which we can become freed from this influence of the modes of material nature. And that is the whole teaching given in the Bhagavad Gita. It means we have to take that bona fide process, the only bona fide process which actually can bring us to that level of transcending these modes of material nature, is by taking shelter of the Daivi Prakriti. And those personalities, those individuals who do that, then they are classified or identified as great souls. Mahatmanastamam partam adaivim prakritim sritaha. Asritaha, asraya, to take shelter of the internal energy or potency of the Lord. Mahatmanastamam partam adaivim prakritim sritaha. Vajanti ananya manaso. And the special feature or quality is that one is one's mind is always meditating or thinking how to engage in that service of the Lord. So this will be, so that means that it is not our business to be judgmental, and especially to to show, let's say, malice towards other living entities. One who is in knowledge, one who is enlightened, understands how it is so very, very difficult, extremely difficult for all living entities who come here in this material world because of this stringent laws of material nature. And therefore, the other symptom which is being mentioned here as well is that such magnanimous souls are always thinking in different ways how to actually change that unfortunate condition of those who are, but the jiv, who are under the influence of the modes of material nature. And of course, if we ourselves continue to be under the modes of material nature, then we can't. It's like someone who is bound up or tied up, or someone who is blind. The blind leading the blind will not give good results. So therefore, we have to cultivate this knowledge. We have to become enlightened. We have to understand the workings of material nature. And this is the special feature or special quality of the Mahatmas, of the great souls, that they are very much caring for the suffering of the living entities. That suffering is due to being under the modes of material nature. And therefore, the more one understands this, then he will not be disturbed when things happen. Just like in this case, Prithu Maharaj actually was his 100th yajna or sacrifice was being disturbed due to the enviousness of King Indra. And therefore, the Lord is making his appearance here. As mentioned in the verse, he will be requesting Prithu Maharaj to be merciful and to forgive. Many similar incidences are there. The most obvious one that comes to mind, of course, in our, let's say in the past times of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is when Lord Nityananda Prabhu became was attacked by Jagai and Madai, isn't it? Because he had, that's a special feature of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, and therefore we are meant and advised to take shelter of Nityananda Prabhu, because he is, of all the great devotees, of all the great personalities, he is, we could say, the foremost in understanding the mood and the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in wanting to, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard that Nityananda Prabhu had been in this way attacked and injured by Jagai and Madai, as we all know, he wanted to take severe steps against these two rogues, but on the plea of Nityananda Prabhu, they were forgiven on the plea, or they were forgiven if they were accepting to take up the process of spiritual life and end their notorious sinful activities. So in these different pastimes we see the type of qualities that are meant to be developed by those who take up to the process of spiritual life. Yeah. So this is nicely described here. I'll just read the translation again. O king, one who is advanced in intelligence and eager to perform welfare activities for others is considered best amongst human beings. An advanced human being is never malicious to others. Those with advanced intelligence are always conscious that this material body is different from the soul. Any comments, questions? Yes.
So Maharaj, the entire scene of Bhagavad Gita seems to be contradicting to this, where Arjuna is trying to be forgiving and Krishna is trying to incite action.
Yes.
How do we understand this contradiction?
Yes. These were some of the arguments presented by Arjuna.
Yeah.
Not to fight.
I want to forgive them.
That principle of forgiveness is present. Simultaneously, there is the principle of righteousness, which is the first of the four pillars of dharma, satyam. So, when we analyze, let's say, the activities of Duryodhana and company, so they were, we say, hell-bent on, following adharma, and a long history as well. And there were many, many attempts, as we know. Even Krishna himself tried to negotiate and tried to. The Pandavas were ready to. They would have been happy just getting their small village, isn't it? So. This situation with those who were intent on following principles of adharma, because that is something very important. And at times it like in this purport and these instructions being given here, so one may sometimes conclude that we should never ever. That's the theory of Buddhism, actually, ahimsa. But the Prabhupada explains that actually the philosophy of ahimsa needs to be properly understood. And this is a special feature actually of Srila Prabhupada in giving this understanding. We generally think of ahimsa as not physically hurting somebody, or even not emotionally hurting somebody. Srila Prabhupada has given the very wonderful explanation that ahimsa means in different ways preventing someone from practicing one's dharma or from becoming self-realized. And therefore, within, let's say, the principle of dharma, in order to protect dharma, then sometimes although ahimsa is also a quality that is mentioned in that list of 30 qualities, isn't it? Given by Narada Muni in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam. Ahimsa is there. But sometimes it is necessary to commit violence. Just like a doctor will also commit violence on your body for a higher purpose. So it's not that, anytime you can get... Doctor will cut under after thorough analysis of your condition. So in a similar way, Kshatriyas who are knowledgeable about dharma will only act after consultation actually with Brahmanas, isn't it? That's why Brahmanas, although Kshatriyas have been trained and educated in the principles of dharma, because dharma is something very intricate. It's like here, it at first hand may seem, well, all of this seems to contradict the whole teachings of the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna should not have fought, he should have just forgiven. He should have forgiven. So, there are injunctions in the Shastra, that's another verse, whereby if someone is attacking one with a sharp instrument, or if one is burning one's house or stealing one's wife, you can kill that person. So, in other words, we have to follow Shastra, but under the guidance of self-realized, persons. So, Prabhupada would often explain that we are not just sentimentally promoting the principle or ideology of ahimsa. We recognize and we preach about non-violence, but it needs to be properly, understood. And sometimes, like in the case of the Battle of Kurukshetra, sometimes it is necessary, but under very.
Is it like understanding here to understand that Indra here is came with Vishnu with the feeling of guilt and ready to...
Yeah, well, this is what we're going to be seeing.
As opposed to Duryodhana.
Yeah, right. Duryodhana, we see here the position in the picture actually. Indra is kneeling and, Duryodhana would never do this. You'd never see a picture of Duryodhana like this. Isn't it? He's a hardcore. Duryodhana, yeah. Okay. Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Gaura Premanande. Very foggy today. So nice to see a new, this should be